Community Talk with Mantika's mayoral candidate, Gary Singh. Thank you very much, Gary, for joining us today.
Thank you, Gurtej. Thank you for having me. It's great to have some time to talk to you and talk about all the upcoming things that we're hopefully getting ready to bring to Mantika.
Yeah, no, Gary, you have a good expertise in policy making. You started your journey from planning commission, then served the council. Now you are planning to be mayor of city of Mantika. So I was just looking at the homelessness issue that is engulfing our Central Valley, though it is prominent in other cities too. If we see pre-COVID numbers in city of Mantika, there were around 300 homeless. So now the recent numbers I looked at, that is around 165. So City of Mantika is moving in a positive direction. So if you'll get the opportunity to be mayor of City of Mantika, so how will you enforce or make sure that that problem gets resolved in City of Mantika, and how would you kind of share your information knowledge with the other cities?
Sure. And like we will say is that even though we're the city of Mantika, um, whatever works, we're happy to let know other cities because this is not just a city of Mantika issue. This is a county-wide issue, statewide, nationwide issue. And honestly, there is no one single answer for homelessness because it's a multifaceted issue that needs to be tackled in many directions. So I guess what I would like to say is maybe start with a little bit of a history lesson of how we came to be today and why homelessness is where we're at. First, the biggest issue, of course, with homelessness is affordability. That's caused a lot of issues over the years where people had, affordability is unfortunately getting less and less in the valley, and that's caused issues. Originally when we did have homeless, we've always had homeless, but the growth has been coming even pre-recessionary times. The city of Mantika tried to enact a anti-camping ordinance back in those days. This is probably about a decade ago now, and the city of Mantika got sued by high-powered lawyers out of San Francisco, saying that you can't enforce an anti-camping ordinance, and because it is not illegal to be homeless, it's not a crime to be homeless. So because of that case, originally, what came out of it was that as human beings, we have the right to sleep. So meaning as all human beings, we have the right to sleep, and we shouldn't be punishing somebody just because they don't have a home that they cannot sleep. So due to that, what basically came out of that was that you cannot move a homeless person off of public property from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. And so now, unfortunately, in our city, what kind of happens is Library Park is a well-known place where individuals hang out in the park during the day because it is a public park. It's open to everyone. And during the evening, they go sit in front of the library because we have a wider sidewalk there, and they sleep because that is public property. And officers come every day, wake them up around 6 a.m. and they move back into the park, and then we do this routine every day back and forth. So that was our first issue that we raised, that hey, we cannot move individuals off of public property from 11 to 6. Then came another, so this is the thing, a lot of people saying, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Laws have changed, things have changed, just criteria have changed. And so we as a city have to stay within the legal parameters of the law. Then came a case out of Boise, Idaho. That was Martin versus Boise. Now that case, same thing. They try to do the same thing there and try to enforce the anti-camping ordinance. And unfortunately, what came out of that one, and that went actually all the way to the Supreme Court. And basically what they said is that being homeless is not a crime again. And if you do not have a permanent facility or a bed available in your jurisdiction, you cannot move a homeless person off of public property ever. So that kind of limits what we can or can't do today. So if you have homeless people camping on public property, we legally cannot move them. And so then it was time that we needed to figure out how we can legally do the things that our residents want us to do. So one of the first things that you've seen, you talked about the numbers of, where we were pre-COVID and where we are now. One of the biggest factors of that, since I've been elected, is because of our community resource officer. We started a program where an officer is allocated and their job was to go help the homeless, the ones that want the help, and find them resources. If they happen to get here and they need a way to get back to their family, they help with that situation. That has run its course, but now, we have to get to the next step. So then the concept really came of a navigation center. Now, navigation center, a shelter, all those conversations, people, have a lot of fear regarding that, of what it can or cannot mean. First of all, a navigation center is not just a place to go to sleep, get food. We're talking about a facility that would provide all of your social services, drug rehabilitation, mental health, job placement services. We have to understand that homeless is not just about losing a house or affordability. You also have individuals out on the street that have mental health issues or substance abuse issues. So we need to get to the root cause of those issues and fix them in order to help those individuals. So that's what a navigation center allows us to do. It allows us to bring all of those all-encompassing wraparound social services under one building. Plus, it also allows us to bring a single male unit into the building, single female, and a family area. So that way you can actually help. If you remember, even in all the other cities around us, the biggest issue really is single male. Those are the ones that are out on the streets. And so having this all-encompassing plan, we are now able to bring those individuals in. One of the other biggest things is pets. We will take pets because homeless people do not want to lose their pets. That's their only companion. So we'll take those in. Our goal is to bring people in, get them through the program, clean them up, get them into job placement services so they can truly become independent on their own. Now, when this concept was originally introduced, the question was always, if you build a shelter in Manteca, more homeless are going to show up and more homeless will be everywhere. Well, first thing is they're already here. What are we doing about the ones that are already here? Right. The other big thing that we really did is we worked very hard as a county and not just the city of Manteca, and worked with all of our major cities in San Joaquin and provided that every major city in this county will be building a navigation center. So Tracy's building one, Stockton's building one, Lodi is building one. We're actually on the later side right now. So if every major city is building one, why would a homeless individual that lives in that city jurisdiction leave their own jurisdiction with resources and go to the next city over? So that kind of takes away that fear of, you build it and more will come. The bulk of our homeless population today, over 90% of it, is from Manteca or have roots to our city, and that's why they want to stay here. So that was the first thing. Then the next big thing was, you build this shelter or navigation center, and how are you going to pay for it? And so then we worked as a city with our partners at the state level, Susan Eggman's office, Senator's office, Assembly members' offices, and we got everybody together to get, as part of the governor's budget this year, a $16 million grant to the city of Manteca to actually build a navigation center. So we basically have taken care of, if you build it, more will come. Well, every city is building one. Then it was, how are you going to pay for it? Well, we have a grant that we don't have to pay back from the state to build it. Another question that's always come up is ongoing expenses. Well, you have to understand we have passed through grants and funds that come from the federal government for housing, for homelessness, that today we use for a temporary tent or other services in town, that now we can bring together, gather it all up, and put it all under one building for ongoing expenses. So that's the whole concept of the navigation center. The second step of that whole idea is now that we will have a navigation center, we will have a facility for individuals that truly want the help to go to. Now we can actually enforce an anti-camping ordinance. And so our police department actually can now go out there and say, hey, we either have a bed for you, you can go there, you can leave our town, or you're going to get cited and arrested. We can't give that option legally today, and that's why we need a navigation center so we can move to that next step. The other big goal in that concept is not just building a navigation center, because one of the other things I've seen is that once you build a facility and people kind of go through the shelter phases of it and they get cleaned up, they have nowhere else to go. They end up back on the street because there's no next step. So our goal is to build an all-encompassing, working with our housing authority partners, and build transitional housing and affordable housing on the same property near Carnegie Court in the industrial area. And so that way you have the next step. Your goal is to come into one side of that property, go through the program, and end up into affordable housing eventually, where you are making a paycheck and you're paying some share of your rent, and working through and basically becoming independent. I'm a believer that, unfortunately, we cannot arrest our way out of this problem issue. If we continue to do that, the jails are full and they're going to continue getting released. The only way we can really try to put a dent in this, I'm not saying it's going to be the end-all, be-all solution, right? It is truly trying to change people's lives and making them become independent and not dependent on government forever. So that's kind of the transition of everything that happened and why we are where we're at today. We are ready to go as a city to move to that next step. And this is why I would say I'm the only candidate that even our law enforcement has endorsed in the city of Manteca, because they believe in the concept.
Right. Yeah, no, you talked about the law enforcement. You grew up in the city of Manteca. You went to schooling here. You went to UOP. Then you came back in city of Manteca to raise your children. So you have seen this city grow from smaller number of population to now 88,000 is the population approximately. So as you talked about the law enforcement, we have only 76 sworn officers in city of Manteca. So with the population increase and lesser number of law enforcement officers, there are challenges. So if you'll get an opportunity to lead city of Manteca, how will you resolve this? So what are your thoughts to add more law enforcement officers?
Correct. As you stated, I've pretty much grown here my whole life. I was a kid, went to school here, went to high school here in town, and then went to UOP and never really left the area. Yes, we've definitely grown since I was a little kid, and law enforcement needs to grow also with it. It comes with challenges. There's a couple sides of it. Let me cover first the actual bodies.
Right.
It's not just about bodies. Also, for me, I think the plan needs to be also technology, also using other aspects to make sure that we, provide the tools for our law enforcement to be more efficient at their job, and that way we can try to capture and do more with less. But end of the day, it all comes down to money. It's basically going to be 64% of our budget currently is public safety. So, what are you going to cut? If you talk to any individual running for any elected office, probably up and down this nation, they'll tell you that public safety is very important.
Right.
But, and everybody wants to hire more officers and everything, but where's the money coming from? What are you going to cut? If you look at the city's, Manteca's budget, it's a balanced budget, but 64% of it is going towards public safety. So if you're going to increase law enforcement, how are you going to do that? And what are you willing to cut? So either you're going to be able to cut out of the other 36%, or you're going to have to look at ways to increase revenue. And that's kind of where I am at. One of the biggest things that we have an issue with in our city, unfortunately, is we have a county tax sharing agreement in the city of Manteca, and actually all of our neighboring cities also, where unfortunately we are on a 80-20 split for tax sharing, which is 80% goes to the county and 20% only comes to the city of Manteca. And we are a full service city. We provide all of our own, amenities, law enforcement, public safety, and when it comes to garbage, everything is done by the city of Manteca. So, question is what are we getting for the 80% that we're sending to the county? Unfortunately, these deals were done a long time ago when, maybe South County, which is Lathrop, Manteca, and Tracy, were not real cities. It was kind of the middle of nowhere, and they were trying to spurt up growth into these in South County, and so because of that, they made these deals. Well, since then, we are now the mecca of development for the county, and those deals need to change. We cannot continue going at this pace. So that will be my first fight, is to push to get that 80-20 split changed with the county so that moving forward, the development that happens. This is one of the reasons why we keep on saying, you're developing so much, why don't you have any money? Well, the county has it. That's why. And so the first push is going to be getting that 80-20 split changed. I know it can be done. Stanislaus County is on a 50-50 split, so that should tell you something. There's room to play there. So that's going to be our first challenge moving forward. Now, so that's one stream of revenue that could be coming into the city that we can use for public safety. The second one is looking at our CFDs, or Mello-Roos. Those in our city have always only paid for parks and streetlights. And I just told you 64% of our budget is public safety. So as growth is coming, we're not paying for public safety. So that one right there is the one that I've pushed to basically have public safety and streets, which is another big complaint that we constantly get in the city of Manteca, to be included in CFDs, to be included in the future growth, and that way individuals that are moving into our community are paying for their share. So that's a push that we've continued to go. We actually are in the process of implementing and updating the fee structure there and the nexus for that. So that'll be another way to generate income, so we can take care of streets, we can take care of and grow our public safety numbers. The third and final one that I've thrown out there, and it's probably not popular because it's looking at potential sales tax increase. That would be my last resort if anything else doesn't work. But it's not also an open tax. The way I see it is an increase to Measure M. So currently Measure M in our city is a 0.5-cent sales tax. It's strictly for public safety. It actually has a public oversight committee that makes sure and ensures that all the money is used only for public safety and nothing else. That alone currently today funds 18 police officers and 18 firefighters in our city. So Measure M has been a great program. It has been a great sales tax. It's actually tax done right, where truly what people voted for is what they're getting used for. I propose a 1/4 cent hike in that tax in the next 2 years. We look at it after we've done everything else and been very transparent and sharing our plans of what our finances look like. And that 1/4 cent will allow us to hire at least 9 more police officers and 9 more firefighters. And that will get us over that number that you mentioned earlier with the 76 officers. We will get closer to that 1 per 1,000, or be at the 1 per 1,000 that we've been talking about as officers per capita in our city. That alone, but the other thing that I kind of brought into that is that we just don't do a Measure M increase, but we actually put a sunset on it. And the sunset would be a 20-year sunset, meaning at 20 years it goes away. And what that means, the reason I picked 20 years is because, as you know, we brought in Great Wolf to the city of Manteca, and we did a 20-year tax sharing agreement with them as part of their hotel tax. So we would basically, when that falls off and the 20 years goes away on the Great Wolf, and that tax is now coming completely to the city, Measure M sales tax could drop off, and that could be supplemented with that funding. So I'm actually proposing a tax that actually has a sunset, and it's not going to be a forever tax. And you know how we always talk about government creates taxes and they never go away.
Right.
So that's one of my other options, and those are three methods of how we can increase revenue into the city. One of the last things I want to talk about also is that it's not just about adding more officers. We have to look at a new police station for our city. Our police station was built in 1976 when we were a population of 22,000. And today we are a population of 88,000. So, and we're still in the same police station. So that should tell you we are literally busting at the seams. As much as we want to add more cops and everything, we also need a place for them to go and have. So that's my other goal. And actually, part of my proposal I've looked at is looking at the site where we're looking at the navigation center on the west side of that property. We would actually propose a new multi-story police station and use growth fees that are collected from development to pay for it. So that's kind of my all-encompassing public safety plan. On the fire side, we're already doing really well. And we actually added a new station 5 on the south side of 120, which continues to bring us the response times that we need to help out all the residents and their issues as the growth is happening.
Yeah, no, you grew up around a small business and now also you are involved in a small business. So you see the value of a commercial growth in parallel to the residential growth. So I would say approximately 25,000 units we have at present in Mintika, and 10,000 more units are planned. They'll be coming in future as well. So how do you see the diversification from residential to commercial in city of Mintika?
Yeah, so that's where I think we need to do a shift. I think we've been working really hard in growing residential, but we cannot be one-sided. Like we already talked about our tax sharing splits with the county, it doesn't pay to continue building residential. Mind you, in order to get commercial, we need a population, in order to attract commercial. But at the same time, we cannot continue just relying on residential growth. Eventually, we're going to run out of land. I do agree that we do need some residential growth, but I also believe that the growth that we need needs to be different. We cannot keep on building the same type of house, the same type of development, because affordable housing is an issue. We need to bring different types of housing and be diversified in our housing. That's the only way. Not everybody's looking for the mansion out there and with the huge yard and all of that. There's some individuals that would be happy to have condos. So that would be one shift in the residential side. But then the other big shift is that I really proposing a robust economic development department where we actively go and go out there and market the city of Manteca to bring commercial industrial growth to our city. And that helps in two folds. One, it brings jobs, it brings local jobs. It allows those individuals that are living here to work here, and then also maybe it's bringing restaurants, maybe it's things for people to do in the city of Manteca where now they can spend their money here. So what's the use of having all those individuals moving into city of Manteca, but then they're still spending their money outside of this town and we're not capturing their income. So we need to capture it, because that's where the growth needs to happen, not on the property tax side, but on the sales tax side. So if we can create jobs, same thing with those companies. If you kind of look at COVID kind of helped the Valley, because what it allowed to do was having people come and work from home. And we ended up with actually a bigger daytime population than ever before. And so we should take advantage of that and make sure the infrastructure is here where we can go out there and market to these companies and say, look, we have your workforce, we have the land, we'll work with you on the planning side to get you guys through our system, and get you to the biggest thing I think with commercial is it's not just about how much money break you can give them or things like that. It's time to market. If we can say, hey, we'll get you up and running in 3 months, 6 months, the latest, that means a lot more to them than anything else. Um, so if we can hit all those points in, we can get those companies to want to come here. We live very strategically in this community. The city of Manteca is right in the heart, in the middle of California. You have rail systems that run through the city. You are basically an hour and a half away from so many different things in our community. We have the port nearby, an airport. So we need to take advantage of those things. And that's how we can attract manufacturing jobs, good paying head of household jobs. That way we can stop getting all these individuals to continue going down, up and down the Altamont every day and basically spending half of their life on the road. We really need those individuals to work from here locally so they can be more in tune with our community. And honestly, it's they get into our community, they have a better standard of life. The kids feel better, schools, everything. It's just an overall win-win situation. The more people we can get to work locally within our community, I don't see an issue. And I think that's where opportunities really lie now, is that we need to attract those jobs, and we need to actively go out there and attract, and just not say, well, we got some land, we're here. Anybody coming? No, you actually have to go out
Right.
and sell Manteca.
Right. We have a question live. We'll take that question. So it's about infrastructure. So as you also mentioned that lots of individuals, they have to commute. I would say approximately 100,000 individuals, they commute every day across Altamont Pass. So Manteca, we have seen a good amount of infrastructure growth in terms of Union, and McKinley has some plans, then 99, 120. Can you share with us, so what are the future plans for Manteca in terms of infrastructure?
Yeah, so yes, we understand my long-term goal, of course, to get people to work and live locally. But as of right now, we also have to work with what we have today, and which is, we have commuters, and
Right.
how are we going to be moving that traffic? And it's not only local traffic, maybe updating airport as we've done today, Airport Way, which is one of the streets that was one of the worst ones in our town. We have other streets that need updating, but regionally also, we've looked at, as you mentioned, creating DDI, which was the first DDI on Union Overpass. Not only was the project itself that I like about it, but the other big thing that I appreciate about that project is it allowed us to get our first pedestrian bike path over 120 from the south side to the north side of 120. So that was a great win for our city, and we are basically getting ready for future growth that may come along 120. But the other big thing is McKinley. McKinley, if you look today, we've been talking about it for a long time. Uh, McKinley's now has started construction. We've broken ground. We're probably about a year out, where McKinley will have on ramps and off ramps going off the freeway. And so it'll allow individuals to get off of 120 earlier that are local. And the other big thing is, we've mentioned Great Wolf in the past before. Great Wolf actually faces towards Highway 5 because McKinley was supposed to be the main entrance and exit to Great Wolf. And one of the reasons, that whole area is called the Family Entertainment Zone. We haven't done a lot more attractions or things to do there yet because we didn't have McKinley in place yet. And airport is not big enough currently to hold all that traffic. So once we get McKinley completed, it will allow us to open up. Daniels is already completed next to Great Wolf, and it'll allow us to open up the Family Entertainment Zone and bring more things for locals to do, and also the tourists that are coming into our city currently. So McKinley, definitely, I'm grateful to get that finally, over the hill and get down to construction. The other one you mentioned, 99 120. We've literally been working on it for 3 decades. Unfortunately, when it was originally built, poor planning. Nobody ever thought it was going to be this busy. and the amount of accidents and traffic that occurs as traffic enters into 99, especially on the busy times. But seems like now it's all the time. Going towards Modesto, you have one lane in each way, north or south, and you have individuals that like to wait until the last possible minute and go right in front of big rigs, and then that causes quite a bit of accidents, and we have a lot of lost lives. And we've been, this council, past councils, we've all gone actively to advocate for more funding for this project at a regional level, at a state level, at a federal level. And I'm happy to announce that we finally have the funding to start that project next spring, where we will have 2 lanes going towards 99 out of 120. We'll have a new Austin Road bridge that will actually become our first grade separation. It will actually go over Moffett and over the railroad tracks. So that's going to be another win for the city. That is not just going to be, because of future growth or due to the traffic concerns, but we are truly saving lives by doing that project. And it's in a long time coming, and there was a lot of pushing and pulling. Caltrans has had very many invitations, and they were thinking of so many things that they could or couldn't do, and it was really powerful between all the work that all the council and the previous councils have done to keep that project rolling and going.
Right. So with the population growth, now you have diverse population. So who used to work or who still are working remotely across the Altamont Pass, and people are moving from different cities to the city of Manteca because of its diversified growth. Now the main question is for job opportunities, how to retain that talent in city of Manteca rather than they have to commute to different places, find jobs in other cities, and contribute to those cities. Why not you retain your own talent in your own city? So, what are your thoughts in terms of that?
Yeah, so I think it goes right back to where we were talking before, is that we need to do a better job selling our city to those companies and letting them know, hey, we have your workforce. And then the other side of it also is that we need to also coordinate better with our local universities and schools. And with ACE coming into town next year, eventually we'll have a connection of ACE through the middle Manteca, going all the way to Stanislaus University, Merced University, and even towards Stockton. We need to, one of the biggest issues, and I'm like one of the few that went to school here and went to college here and then stayed here, but we're having a tough time where kids go to college and they don't come back. They don't come back to our community, and that shift needs to happen. That needs to change. Otherwise, well, we're going to be left with a bunch of old people sitting here, and all that knowledge is walking away.
Yeah,
But in order for them
the
to come back,
brain drain that we always see, that's the same brain drain you have to stop. Yeah.
yeah, and in order for that to stop, also is we got to have a reason for them to be here. The jobs have to be there. And so that's why I think on my side, from the city's perspective, we can make sure our infrastructure is in place. One of the biggest things for those companies that are looking at wanting to come into city in the valley and in our area is fiber. I think internet's a must. Fiber is a must. If we're going to get any of the gig giants, any of the manufacturing jobs, they require fast speeds. And so we have a fiber infrastructure, and we need to continue expanding that. One of the things we've done in the city of Manteca is created a dig once policy. And what that means is anytime we dig up a street, we put extra conduit down. So that way in the future, if we need to add lines, add fiber lines, we don't have to keep on digging them through. And that's how we can create a web network of infrastructure in the city that's ready to go for the future. And it's not just fiber and for companies, but even for our own traffic movement. We're getting into smart system lightings that talk to each other and that are synchronized. Well, a lot of those require Wi-Fi services or interconnected with, fiber and internet. And then the other big thing that we've seen going into the future, if we ever get to there with the self-driving cars and things like that, they have embedded lines in the roadways that basically talk to these cars. So all that needs to happen with making sure we put the infrastructure in place today.
Right. One last question we have from one of our audience, because everybody in Central Valley and I think around the other cities, they always see Manteca is growing at a very diverse pace. And the question is why Manteca is growing that diverse rather than or other cities are not. So what's the strength of Manteca you see as you are a policymaker from seasoned policymaker for many years? So what's the strength in Manteca that it is more diversified, more businesses, more residential, they are coming into city of Manteca?
Well, that's great to hear because sometimes our constituents say we're not doing enough. So it's great to hear that Manteca is leading the charge because I hear it all the time. Um, I think it all comes back down to location, location, location. Like I said, we are right here in the heart of California, right here in the middle, and we're at the crossroads. Literally, you have 99, Highway 5, 120, and we're right in the middle, and we have the infrastructures in place. I think continuing forward, if we do a good balancing act of residential, commercial, manufacturing, commerce, industrial growth, we can actually become one of a very much of a complete city within itself, where individuals can live here, work here, shop here, and also enjoy their time here, and we give them the amenities where somebody doesn't need to leave this community. They can all do it here, right here in Manteca, just like Great Wolf or Big League Dreams for things for people to do. I would love to bring some more things for individuals to do locally here. Same thing with, we have the Costco's, we have 2 hospitals in town. We have a little bit of everything, and I think that's not just a shout out to me, but to our past councils and all the decisions that have been made. The vision that was made for 120 all the way back to one of our mayors, Jack Snyder, and moving traffic onto 120, and then the vision that brought all the growth to the south side of 120. Now it's our turn to make sure what they had started, that we continue to move that forward and make sure we're doing it right, and that this city continues to lead and be what other cities unfortunately are looking up to. But I'm kind of partial to Manteca, so of course I want what's best for our city.
Yeah, no, the good thing is you are always there for information sharing. So absolutely other cities can get some tips and everybody can diversify. So in the end, I'll request all the voters who are listening, November 8th is the end of voting. So Gary Singh is running for Manteca Mayor. So I request everybody to ask questions, follow up on our discussion, because you may have got lots of information and may have follow-up questions. So Gary, what is the right mechanism if anybody wants to get clarification on any of the topics we did touch? And what's your final message for your voters?
Sure. As far as contacting me, I'm very available. You can email me at singformayor@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, I'm there, and I will respond back to you. And it might take me a little bit of time because I get a lot. And then also tomorrow, actually, Thursday at 7 o'clock, I'm having a meet and greet at Sourdough Company here in Manteca from 7 to 9. So feel free to come out and hit me with your questions or concerns. And at the same time, have a sandwich on us. So those are all ways to do it. End of the day, my message to the community is that I don't know all the answers, but I'm willing to work with everyone. Being on the council, being the mayor, it's not a dictatorship. It's a collaborative effort. We all have to work together, and I think I do have the support of my council. At the same time, I think we also need the community's help, and that we're going to do this together and work together to find solutions that are going to work for Manteca. So I urge everyone to vote. November 8th is election day. If you have ballots at home, please fill them out and mail them in soon or drop them off at City Hall. But at the same time, it takes a community to move forward. It is not a one-man job or anybody's job by itself. So that would be my message to you, is that, I am someone that listens, and I am somebody that has proven that I can work with individuals and be in a collaborative way. And I think we can work together and move the city forward.
No, thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate your time. And to all the voters, I'll urge absolutely get your questions answered. Gary Singh is always available. Then make an informed decision on November 8th. With that, thank you. Stay healthy and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next Community Talk episode.